Hi, I'm Rachel Hausman, and today I'm coming to you not from a job site, but from somewhere completely different. I'm in Butte, Montana, and this is the Granite Mountain Memorial. It's a tribute to the 168 miners who went to work one day and never came home.
So what does a monument have to do with MSHA, and how does that apply to modern mines? Well, that's what today's video is all about, the history beneath our boots.
If you like our YouTube videos, make sure to check out our video subscription to access over 150 video courses. Check it out at allysafety.com.
As far back as 1891, the first mine safety legislation was passed that set the minimum ventilation requirements for coal mines and also prohibited mines from employing children younger than 12 years old. As crazy as it sounds today, that was progress. Daily mine deaths, and even worse, disasters resulting in hundreds of deaths, were regular occurrences. Here are a few examples of disasters from the early 1900s. In 1907, the Monongah mining disaster in West Virginia claimed the lives of 362 miners in a violent explosion. Now, as bad as that sounds, it was only a small percentage of the coal mining fatalities that year, which totaled over 3,200 deaths. Just 2 years later, in 1909, the Cherry Mine disaster in Cherry, Illinois, resulted in 259 deaths due to a fire. In fact, 1909 was the year on record with the most coal mine disasters, 20 disasters in total in just 1 year. The following year was the year with the most mine disasters overall, regardless of the mine type. In that year, there were 25 mine disasters. The first decade of the 1900s had been disastrous, with fatalities across the United States recorded at over 20,000 deaths. It was clear that things were out of hand. Following that deadly decade, the U.S. Bureau of Mines was established in 1910. And although this was progress, the Bureau's safety and health role was limited to research and investigation. The problem was they didn't have any investigation authority, meaning mines could refuse to let investigators in, which, as you can imagine, made real investigations almost impossible.
Here in 1917 at the Granite Mountain Mine was the single deadliest disaster in American hard rock mining history. A violent fire trapped hundreds of workers underground. Their stories are told here, and often in surprising detail, since the miners had time to write them down themselves as they sat trapped beneath the ground in mines waiting for the oxygen to be consumed by the fire. Eventually, the miners in the tunnels died due to lack of oxygen. 168 miners didn't come home that day. It's truly a horrific ending.
In that year, the number of fatalities for metal and non-metal mines was 983. It was the worst year for them in U.S. history. The fight for safer workplaces raged on, but the number of fatalities was slow to decline. In the 1930s, the numbers still ranged from 1,000 to 2,000 deaths per year. In 1941, the U.S. passed the right of entry, which finally granted inspectors the right to enter a mine for inspections. Although no safety and health regulations were mandated yet, they could at least investigate the cause of fatalities. During the 1940s and 50s, fatality numbers continued to decline, finally stabilizing at less than 1,000 deaths for the first time in the late 1950s. The 60s brought better safety standards, better training, and some real accountability. The results were a fatality rate in mining averaging under 500 deaths per year. This was definitely progress, but mine safety overall was in disarray. There were no centralized rules, no enforcement, and no safety inspections.
1972 saw another grim year. Here in Kellogg, Idaho, on May 2nd, 91 miners were killed in a fire. It was the worst mining disaster since 1950. But you know what they say, it's always darkest before the dawn. And in 1977, the Mine Safety and Health Act, which is also known as MSHA, was implemented.
Under the Mine Act of 1977, the Mine Safety and Health Administration, also known as MSHA, was established to enforce compliance with mandatory safety and health standards, with the goal of eliminating fatal accidents and reducing the severity of non-fatal accidents. There was finally an agency that demanded better working conditions on the federal level. This act strengthened and expanded the rights of miners as well. The Mine Act not only switched gears from research to enforcement, but it also centralized the rules, making them clearer. Regular checks, miner training, mine rescue teams, MSHA ensured the odds were in favor of every miner making it back home. Mine safety and health agents were tasked with enforcing regulations and standards set by MSHA to prevent accidents, injuries, and illness in mines across the United States. Regular inspections started becoming the norm in mines. MSHA agents also investigated accidents or hazardous conditions and provided guidance and training to mine operators and workers on best practices for maintaining a safe work environment. Following the establishment of MSHA, mine fatalities declined significantly. From a fatality rate averaging 300 miners per year in the 70s, the rate fell to about 160 in the 80s and under 100 in the 90s. By the 2000s, the rate continued to fall.
This memorial is just one tragic example of the many that fueled the fight for safer workplaces. Every name, every story of mine workers in the U.S. carved the path to creating safer working conditions for miners. It took tragedies, resilience, grit, and most of all, the hope of a better future for mine safety to persist to where it is today.
The Mine Safety and Health Administration is here today to make sure that mines are a safe place to work. And that's what MSHA is all about.
Rachel from Ally Safety here. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out the Ally Safety Toolbox Talk membership at allysafety.com. There you'll find an entire library of videos that are created to make safety entertaining. I'll see you there at allysafety.com.